Before this video starts, I just want to give a massive shout out to all my channel members. If you want to receive a shout out, then become a channel member today and you'll be shown on screen like all these other channel members here. Anyways, enjoy the video. In version 14.6, a brand new advent reward unit was added, these being Carpenter and Rapper Cat. This unit comes with a resistance to red and floating, Sage Slayer, as well as freeze and wave immunity. This unit comes from the Jumborg Jones Great Advent, and if you want more info on those stages, then check the card in the corner here to learn how to beat all 4 of their stages. The footage of Carpenter in this video is at level 50. Carpenter as a unit is a meat shield unit, and seeing as this unit is a specialized meat shield, on top of being a rather endgame unit, I'm going to focus on their level 50 stats. At level 50, they sport 22,950 base health and deal 8,100 damage. This amount of health and damage is similar to the other Great Advent meat shield units like Jetpack and Cone, which is already a great sign for this unit. Their damage is also solid for a meat shield, as it's all concentrated in a single hit. This damage also goes up to nearly 10,000 damage against Sage enemies. The wave immunity also allows them to be a speedy meat shield for wave heavy stages, unlike the more sluggish Low Mohawk and Glittering Macho. Their freeze immunity has less generalist applications, but can still be helpful in a few select stages, like Adventurer's Journal. Though seeing as they are a meat shield, it's best to focus on their ability to tank their traits. Carpenter sports a rather solid 114,000 health against standard red and floating enemies. This is especially so since Carpenter is way tankier compared to their predecessors by a long mile. When compared to the likes of Clam and Necrocommon, Carpenter has over twice the amount of health of Necrocommon, and because Clam has 2 knockbacks instead of 1, also has over twice the endurance, allowing Carpenter to actively defend against these traits. Carpenter is able to complement Roe and Octopus in terms of helping them be better tanks as well, as Carpenter can easily cover any gaps that may be left behind when either is killed due to their high speed. They can even outright substitute either of these two as a means to save extra cash in some stages. They also work as an amazing 4-star replacement, since Roe and Octopus are straight up unusable in those stages. Speaking of their high speed, they sport a speed stat of 25. This is the exact same speed as Courier, meaning now you have a meat shield that can easily tank any red enemy for Courier, and allow Courier to score a massive amount of damage. Their freeze and wave immunity are also extremely helpful for their 2 targets, as there are several enemies that use both waves and can freeze. For waivers, you have Berserkori, Toucan, and Bun Bun Symbiote. For freezers, you have Moth, Iron Face, and an enemy whose 2 gimmicks are directly countered, Inferno Pegasus DNL. However, seeing as Carpenter is immune to both, they could easily get in front of this horse and help stall it out for a long while. As a Sage Slayer, they're a somewhat effective secondary meat shield, since their health doubling to 45,000 means they can help hold the line against a wide range of Sage enemies. This is unlike the other Colossus Slayer brutal meat shields, as they still suffer from not being able to use the ability to the fullest due to just how inflated the damage stats of most Colossus bosses are. They can sit behind the likes of Manic Eraser and act as a secondary layer of defense. The only sages they don't really have a good matchup against are against Dr. Nova, who still one-shots, and her stage demands speedy relic counters, the other being Oldstrich, whose rapid attacks will still 2-shot Carpenter in an instant. Their Sage Slayer and red floating resistance also makes them an amazing option against Dr. KO and Professor Alberly. However, speaking of red and floating sages, I think it's time to address the big elephant in the room. This being the fact that Carpenter is essentially a hard counter to the first 2 bosses of Zero Legends. Their effective health against Sage red floating enemies is 229,000 health. This is enough health to tank 9 hits from Soractis, and enough health to tank an unstrengthened Newton hit. Their freeze immunity also means they get to slip right in front of Soractis and shrug off their hits. The only thing they have to worry about is Doge Dark one-shotting them, but the small gaps that they can make can easily be filled by Manic Eraser and Boulder, alongside any of the other defensive units you would bring, like Eggpod and Octopus. This unit single-handedly turns Adherence to Virtue from one of the most difficult stages into the game to a stage that's actually pretty manageable. The other boss they're meant to hard counter is Newton, although it isn't as much of a difficulty nerf to Newton like it is to Soractis. If you take your time with the stage, then they could be extremely helpful for tanking unstrengthened Newton hits, resisting a slow due to Sage Slayer, and shrugging off the mini-wave due to their immunity. They're also helpful in tanking the little Bun Bun, but having stuff for the Angelic Gories is still necessary. However, this stage can easily be rushed due to the likes of Bahamut, Idichu Form, Bullet Train, Courier, and so on and so forth. though Carpenter does help in rushing this stage as they do have the means to deal okay damage to Newton and can pile on easy damage alongside Courier to nuke Newton faster. So, how good is Carpenter Cat? Well, Carpenter Cat I would say is a fairly strong red and floating meat shield that helps fulfill a niche that was only covered by much worse meat shielding options and full-on tanks like Roe and Octopus. Their ability to act as a solid Sage meat shield as well is also nice, especially for Dr. KO and Professor Alberly. This unit's biggest highlight is being able to turn one of the most difficult stages in the game to a stage that's fairly easy and can help Newton rush shots more often. With all that said, I want to thank you for watching this analysis of Carpenter and Rapper Cat. If you thought this insight was interesting, then be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy Battle Cat's content, and comment down below your thoughts on them. I'd love to hear what you all think of them. Also, shout out to the following channel members: Mark Lagoon, Gamet, Ian Dean, Ninja Stars, Virus Opero, Just a Shark, Potato King, Gross Cat the Best, Tentacle Gaming, Atsushi, King Wolf, Regaming, Janek Altenberg, Clamorous, Barely Grover, and Carps for being silver members or higher. If you want to receive a shoutout like these channel members here, then become a silver member or higher today. Becoming a channel member supports what I do in a way that helps keep the lights on and allows me to continue making content for all of you to watch. Anyways, I hope you have a wonderful day.